Hi, welcome to my Fairy Tale Chronicles. I have a project that I've been wanting to try out, and I thought I'd take you along with me on the experimental journey. I have been trying a lot of different ways of starting seeds, and initially I started years ago doing them indoors with grow lights. I had very minimal success with that. I know there's a lot that I needed to learn with that, but I really want a hassle-free way. I typically start them just directly sowing them into the ground when it's the right time of year. This last winter, I experimented with starting in milk jugs. Let me show you. This one is Bells of Ireland. Now, this one I had some success, but I just wasn't really great at monitoring the water. We had a really dry winter, so much drier than we ever normally have, and so I just wasn't good at monitoring that. So we had most seeds start to grow and then they died. So I'm giving it another shot. I'm going to try, not in milk jugs, but directly sowing outdoors in biodegradable newspaper pots. Now I want to show you why I'm going to do it that way instead of directly in the ground. So this is my vegetable garden where I plant vegetables, except for I'm also planting in some of my other flower beds. Right here we have raspberry canes. Along the front I've got hollyhocks. I've got some rosemary, strawberries, artichokes. I plant my tomatoes along this trellis, but if I were to directly plant in the ground, then anytime I go to pull some weeds, specifically this one, bindweed, it is really easy to disturb the new seedlings and pull them out in the process. And so what has happened is I just don't weed directly around the seedlings and they get overtaken by the weeds. So I could start in some of these pots that I have just held on to when I buy plants from the nursery, but that can give you some transplant shock when you take it out of the pots. So if I do it directly into newspaper pots, that whole thing can go right in the ground once it's more established, and I'm hoping I will have less transplant shock. So let's try making some. Okay, so I already experimented making some paper pots. What I have are a stack of these trays from different nurseries when I've gone and bought a whole bunch of plants. I've actually got one or two more outside. And so I just want to use what I have. So I've got a stack of newspaper. I've made 12 of these so far, and I'm going to show you how I folded them, and then I'm going to plant some up. Okay, so the pots that I am making end up measuring about 2 3/4 inches across. And so I have already pulled out some of the newsprint and cut sheets in half, because often, you open it up this way, but I've cut them in half. And I'm making sure that I'm only using newsprint that is not shiny. So here we go. Okay, I have just folded 35, well actually, including the ones I folded yesterday, and I have learned some things. First of all, I learned that these aren't completely square. I can tell by folding this over and I have a little bit extra. And if I want it to be easier to tuck in that flap, then I need it to be completely square or close. So I trim off a little bit there. Then the next thing that I learned is about folding in that flap. Let me get to that point. Now I'm not perfect at folding these or even demonstrating it, so I'm going to link the tutorial below that I watched that was helpful. And you can watch it and see if that's easier to follow than mine. Okay, I also learned that it works better if I don't fold this all the way up. If I leave a bit of a gap, then it can reach up to this line easier, and then it will tuck in better. Okay, 36 made. I'd like to have more, but I'm going to get started planting now. Okay, so I'm out here with all of my supplies. I've got my seeds, my plant markers to label a marker. I like to use a little stick if I need to make a little hole like 1/2 inch down. My scissors to open the seed packets. I won't get all of these planted today, but I'll get a good start. And then I've got my potting soil. And on the other side of the table, I've got some vermiculite that I think I will probably mix in or sprinkle on the top to help with water retention.